we don't really need words for this intro, right? We can just stare at this beauty for a minute. Hmm. Hello, folks. Phil Gallagher, aka ThrabenU, here for another Legacy video, and I finally got my hands on Orcish Bowmasters, so we're gonna have a lot of fun today and the next couple of days, probably. Shoutouts to 10 Arms on MTGO for loaning me this set. Now, Orcish Bowmasters is, I think, pretty easily the best card from the Lord of the Rings set for the purposes of Legacy, and that's saying something, honestly, because the set is jacked. A lot of people have their eye on the One Ring as sort of a multi-format all-star for everything from EDH to Vintage, and we'll definitely see some of that on this channel at some point. But for today, we're going to be playing with the Bowmasters, and I have a lot of Bowmaster decks that I want to try out, and we're going to start with a blue-black kind of controlling version. So there's this thing in Legacy when non-blue decks are given the tools to go and fight against blue decks. The blue decks themselves just go and use those tools. So a lot of people saw this card and immediately flocked to a mono black shell, because there's an existing very strong mono black shell that already tries to punish common things in Legacy like cantrips with cards like Sheoldred, and this is a clear slot in there. However, I'm going to need more than one color to be as mean as I would like to be today. Today's deck list is essentially, F your cantrips deck, to put it simply. That's what Garrett called the file when he said it to me. So a quick note about kind of the text of Orcish Bowmasters, and some of the same stuff will be true of Faerie Mastermind. These cards are going to punish your opponent when they draw an extra card. So things like Brainstorms and Ponders are going to be very good for you. However, you can also go the route of forcing your opponent to draw to amass your orcs and to do some pinging, and this can be really strong. Note that this creature does have flash, so you could cast this in response to a Brainstorm, and I want you to just kind of imagine what happens. It enters the battlefield, you get a trigger. Your opponent draws 3 cards, you get 3 more triggers. So you have made a 4-power Orc army, a 1-power Orc Bowmaster, and pinged your opponent 4 times. Delicious. Absolutely delicious. Let's take a look at the full deck list we're going to be playing today. This is probably a good moment to mention that today's video is sponsored by Moxfield.com as well as Cool Stuff Inc. If you end up needing to get some paper Orcish Bowmasters or any other cards, promo code ThrabenU will save you 5% on your order at Cool Stuff Inc. So this is the full deck in all of its glory. There's a couple of different packages here. We have the kind of scam package of Grief plus Reanimate, although honestly, in this deck, going and reanimating an Orcish Bowmasters or another value-oriented card like Baleful Strix is perfectly fine as well. We have the Faerie Masterminds as well as the Sheoldreds to support Orcish Bowmasters at going and punishing cantrips, and I'm playing Garrett's deck list mostly as it was submitted. I think there was a Spell Pierce in here that I changed to a 19th land. I was just kind of comparing it to the Blue-White Hate Bears deck that I played, and I played, I think, like 20 or 21 lands in that. So 18 just sounded really low. I'm not sure about the Prismatic Vistas, honestly. Like, maybe these should just be Scalding Tarns or something like that. I'm going to play the mana base as they submitted it. Other than that, though, as far as the sideboard goes, this is pretty typical of a blue-black sideboard. We have a couple of things that hit really hard for the artifact matchups, some kind of graveyard hate, and then a mix of unfair hate of some kind, coupled with a few things that we can board in for fair matchups. I'm so excited about Orcish Bowmasters. I'm probably going to rattle off 3 or 4 leagues while I have the chance to borrow these cards, so expect to see a lot of it on the channel in the next week to 2 weeks. With that being said, I'm recording this one late at night. I'm just so excited that I got these cards, so let's battle. So the round 1 opening hand is maybe not stellar or maybe very good, depending on kind of what the texture of the matchup looks like on the other side of the battlefield. I have the ability to edict an opponent's creature and then reanimate it. or if my opponent's playing cantrips, I have Faerie Mastermind and Sheoldred to punish that. I'd really kind of prefer a cantrip to sculpt my game plan out a little bit, but I don't think I'm going to mulligan this. It has a reasonable mix of lands and spells that have sort of a flexible plan. Okay, I am, I think, just going to lead on a Vista. I think that'll be fine most of the time. Maybe should lead on Bloodstained Mire to, like, do the Time Reanimator bluff. Oh, please just main phase fucking Entomb. Main phase fucking... No, damn it. Coward! I wanted it so bad. I've lost my Reanimate. Fancy that. So... I think I am good to just hold up both of these. But definitely a little bit scared. Ooh, are we not playing against Reanimator? We might be playing against a blue-black... or like a Grixis deck or something. I'm still going to pop this down. Gotten a response. Okay. That's some mana. I hate this. I hate this so much. I'm supposed to be the one doing that, not you. So they ping that and get an orc. I can Sheoldred's Edict to get rid of their Orcish Bowmasters, which I probably will just do. Sacrifices a non-token creature. Sheoldred's Edict better than Sudden Edict in this maybe slightly unusual scenario. And given that my opponent is playing things that punish cantrips, I'm just going to kind of take a look around here. I don't mind Baleful Strix, but I don't want to take 2 of these 3 cards, so I am going to just shuffle. I'm not interested in doing that. Would be a good day to be Blood Mooning. Okay, so my opponent is definitely in it for the long haul. Bowmasters plus Staff of the Storyteller is pretty gross. Ooh, I just flashed that in. Right? Yeah, because my opponent is going to fetch end of turn to draw their card with Staff of the Storyteller in all likelihood. Yeah. Here we go. Beautiful. Oh my god, my opponent has so much removal right now. I guess I should be a good Magic player and take a snip of this. Okay. So we've got that for the future. I'm going to take an Underground Sea because it helps me the most here. And I've got a pretty good feel for what's going on the other side of the battlefield. Yeah, your time in the sun was too short, friend. 1 sword's down. Then they'll go ahead and sorcery speed fetch to play around a future opposition agent. And go ahead and draw a card. And they drew Cling to Dust. So, Snuff Out's not the most amazing card in the world. They currently can't do a Prismatic Ending for X is 4. Not that far away. 2 unknown cards. I think I'm going to go ahead and grief them to better make way for this Sheoldred sticking around. Force of Will pitching Supreme Verdict. Understood. Don't think I snuff out this token. Snuff out misses Orcish Bowmasters, which is kind of a problem. Alright, I'm at 16. Opponent doesn't have that 4th land. I am okay just go ahead and doing this. I will be a little sad if my opponent just like rips the next land immediately and does this, but I don't really want to just give up on all of my mana here. Alright, I have Snuff Out that takes care of a lot of things that my opponent can play. I think they are about to cast an Orcish Bowmasters. Oh no, it's just straight up a chump block situation, that's fine. Okay, yeah, they are just stuck on mana, which means this Sheoldred will eat them alive. I have Force of Will to cover anything they cast that I super care about, and I will snuff out end of turn if they don't do anything else. Okay, so they've found the land, which means they're going to attempt a Prismatic Ending for X equals 4. Cast with 4 colors, so we will fetch, and go ahead and Force of Will that. My opponent will try again next turn, so I'd like to draw another counterspell or another threat. Okay, this is a very good draw. I'm going to go ahead and just sorcery speed this, take a bunch of life. I'm going to put back 1, 2, gain a bunch of life. I think I leave a snuff out on top of my deck. I think I'm going to go ahead and petty theft that token out of the way. Crash in for 4 points of damage. My opponent goes down to 3 here. Flashing in the Wandering Emperor, which I believe leaves them deterministically dead, right? Or no, it does not. Because they gain 2 life off of that. Sure. I've got this Brazen Borrower, though. I'll go ahead and fetch. Cast Brazen Borrower. Fatal Push isn't great here. I think I need to just kill the Wandering Emperor. As much as I don't want to, as much as I want to just go for the throat here, I think I have to kill that thing. The game gets prolonged, but hopefully I will have the tools to get myself out of this. Alright, it's back to my turn. K-Command is pretty gross here. That's very good. You are just a little too late, bud. Yeah, your cantrips are fine. I'm in hardcast Force of Will mode. Opponent's still got a Cling to Dust in their graveyard. I guess if I don't force now, I'm never forcing, so let us force. Baleful Strix is great. Well, kind of. Just like a very awkward body versus an opposing Bowmasters that like I know is a thing. Ooh. That's so strong. Oh, but Sheoldred went to exile. Oh, this is fine. Let's go and snag a Grief here. I will take my opponent's Orcish Bowmasters and leave them with some copies of Prismatic Ending. Their life total's not in the best place here. I'm gonna let that occur. Brainstorm is currently safe. I have some removal spells I'd very much like to throw back. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, I can put back these 2 and then play Orcish Bowmasters and Grief this turn. That seems very strong. The follow-up cards are not, like, the best. But I'm thinking that the game will be over, so that the follow-up cards don't actually matter. Alright. Prismatic Ending is gone. I have Lethal on board, plus an Orcish Bowmasters. Snapcaster Mage resolves. Targeting Culligan's Command. That seems wrong to me. I think you're just supposed to clear the board and kill both of my creatures. So we will go ahead and ping the Snapcaster Mage out of the way. And I have 3 of the 4 points of damage in play. I have a Fatal Push now for my opponent's Orcish Bowmasters that they play. They can't cast any cantrips. Yep. This is still lethal on board. In the air. I guess in response to this trigger, I go ahead and Fatal Push their Bowmasters before they can randomly draw like a Force of Negation, although I don't think they had one of those. Alright, take your card. I have lethal in the air. My Snuff Out doesn't kill this token, though, which is awkward. Oh god. That is such a good draw. They get 2 swords, my Baleful Strix, and this game continues in a way that I am not a fan of. So that's their only K command, so that shit isn't happening again. I go ahead and snuff this out. And now I'm not sure if I should attack and clear the board. I think I have enough removal in this deck that the answer is no. My opponent has Cling to Dust that is currently this Stalemate Breaker. But I think they forgot about it one turn, so we'll see if they remember. Okay, they did remember. Strix is great here. It threatens to end the game next turn. Well, I guess not next turn anymore. That's very good. So we Bowmasters. I will kill your Orc. Now I amass, which means I put a +1/+1 counter on this one. Oh, gross. Okay, but I've got a 2/2 though. I will hit my opponent down to 2. My opponent's deck is pretty well suited towards killing my stuff with like Fire, Ice, K-Command, Bowmasters. Okay, there's a Cling to Dust. Oh, so they could have just targeted a creature card to guaranteed stay alive, and they instead chose to draw a card. I don't know about that decision. Okay, so Hydroblast does not actually have that many targets, right? Like, it's a K command and a Fire Ice for the most part. Yeah, so I shouldn't bring in Hydroblast. I could Null Rod to shut off Staff. I really like Plague Engineer. My opponent's mana base is pretty greedy, so Opposition Agent is probably good. The X1 creatures are not at their best, but I don't really know that I have the ability to board a lot of those out. My opponent only has 3 Planeswalkers. I think I'm going to go these out for 2 of these. My Snuff Outs really aren't good since they miss Orcish Bowmasters. I'm kind of interested in cutting those. Does that mean I'm keeping one of these creatures? I could play a random Force of Negation and not feel bad about that. I know I won game 1, but I think I want to be on my opponent's side of the matchup here. I am perfectly happy with this opening hand, although wish I was on the play. Alright, I think we're playing draw go for the first turn cycle here. Don't mind Reanimate. Bring in like a Spell Pierce? Cluster? Okay, a Pyroblast. That makes more sense. It's an incredibly aggressive play though. Yeah, we're just gonna go Vista and pass. Alright, no movement from my opponent. And now there's this whole do I brainstorm or not thing going on. I think I'm just playing Orcish Bowmasters and just getting my opponent to respond. I'm fine just pinging my opponent and then probably reanimating my Orcish Bowmasters and playing a second one immediately. Yes, this is fine. It's annoying, but fine. Okay, cool. I actually don't have double black. Alright, so I will reanimate my Bowmasters. Ping your Bowmasters. I will brainstorm first. Did not find the ability to shuffle, but I think I am okay with these cards. I don't think I need to ponder shuffle immediately. I don't know whether or not I need Fatal Push. I'm not ready for Grief yet. I'm going to go ahead and bury, bury Grief and Ponder. Be able to leave up Fatal Push as well as Force of Will. Alright. No. I think I do just fight over this way. My opponent doesn't have Red Elemental Blast up right now. Like, I just want to have 2 of these in play at some point, which will be very good against everything except for Supreme Verdict. Sure. I'm not going to Fatal Push this token. Not sure if I'm supposed to Sorcery Speed this. I think I hold it. Like, I can Sorcery Speed it if I want to get 1 more point of damage, but then I throw away the possibility of this happening. Let's try to kill the army. Alright, I succeed. And I will go ahead and ping my opponent for 1. Unfortunate. It's okay. Like, I have a 4/4 in play, and I'm about to follow it up with a Grief as well. Like, I think things are just fine. There is going to be a relearning of Legacy heuristics, though, from the printing of Orcish Bowmasters for sure. Alright, my opponent goes to 8, and I get the chance to take something like a Supreme Verdict that could 2-for-1 me here. Oh, this is interesting. This is very interesting, actually. I think I just take the Prismatic Ending and force them to funnel mana into Staff. Because I am trying to end this game in 2 turn cycles. And I think this line is better at that. I can just Fatal Push this token, attack for 7, and that ends up being incredibly strong most of the time. Okay. In the worlds where they staff and draw into another mana source, like that exact line punishes me, but I'm still on a 2-turn clock here. So their draw has to be a removal spell or blocker, or they are dead. God damn it. This is very good. My opponent will draw their other Orcish Bowmaster this turn, of course. But I believe it is correct to put them to the test. I roll. They only have 3 of them. And now I'm just like fully punished for my opponent's perfect draws. That's very frustrating. This is not ideal versus this, obviously. Because like I can cast this Faerie Mastermind here, but then Orcish Bowmaster pings me. So I have to just let this resolve and not do Faerie Mastermind things. Means my Faerie Mastermind is more likely to be countered later by a Red Elemental Blast. I am just going to take this damage here. And see if I can get in for 2. Alright, we're in play. Sure. So there's the exact Pyroblast scenario that I was talking about. I probably have to cast this. This is fine. My opponent gets to ping me. I'll play a Plague Engineer on Orc, clear Orcish Bowmasters. And I have an Evasive Flyer to try to do the last couple of points of damage. So I know there can't be another Orcish Bowmasters unless there's a 4th one from the sideboard. Sure, that's fine. I'm not interested in an attack here. Looks like we're playing a little bit of draw go. This allows me to Force of Will something like a Planeswalker or a Culligan's Command that otherwise would give my opponent a lot of card advantage. Kind of feel like that Snapcaster Mage should be attacking. Like, there's no way I'm trading my Plague Engineer for it, right? I think that's just my opponent missing damage. This land I will hold in hopes of throwing it back with a Brainstorm. Alright, land to go. Grief is good. I probably just cast that. A little awkward because like this gives my opponent a chance to Force of Will and then untap with something strong. Yep. But I'm not really in a position to get to 9 mana to do both things. Yep, awkward. Oh. Oh, sorry, that was on staff. Yeah, that's fine. Decision to give them the staff has bit me in the butt, although I fully think that it was correct. It was super flooded out. I think my opponent drew very hot. I mean, this game's not over, right? Like, I draw an Orcish Bowmaster or something, and I can do an absolute shit ton of damage to my opponent's board. Yeah. I will be taking that damage. Force of Will is very awkward right now because of Teferi. Yep. Okay, sure. At this point, I imagine that I have lost this game. I still have, like, very reasonable draws. My opponent is at 3 at the end of the day. I'm going to cast this on a Snapcaster Mage so that I have a reasonable attack. This bites me in the butt if my opponent has Culligan's Command. If they have Culligan's Command, like Orcish Bowmasters is already a problem. And I think I'm going at their life total rather than at the Teferi. Okay. That is just a chump block. We've made up a little bit of ground here. My opponent has very good lines involving Teferi Bounce, though. Okay, this is fine. Sure, let's attempt this. Sure. Don't get the ability to counter because of Teferi. Okay, so Teferi bounces Snapcaster. Snapcaster can swords my Plague Engineer. Not great for me. Let's try to resculpt this game a bit. No, there's still red elemental blasts in there. The fairy is really messing me up. Oh. Going for swords instead. Sure. You just have another red elemental blast. Oh, I see. I have a 4th in the board. I'm going to concede here for the purposes of my clock. That's frustrating. I lost this game because I gave them staff and then they drew, what was it? Swords, blast, or something like that to counter my next 3 threats that were ending the game. That is frustrating. And again, I have so many X ones. The 4th Bowmaster is nuts. My Force of Wills get worse now that I know that my opponent is playing a bunch of red elemental blasts. Hydro blasts get slightly better, but I don't know that I want to be doing that still. I think I'm going to just resubmit as is. Again, I just don't want to be on this side of the matchup. Keep this grief, pitch, opposition agent, just reanimate it on turn 1. Alright, what do we got going on over there? Cling to Dust, that's slow here. I probably just get rid of Orcish Bowmasters. Do I reanimate their Orcish Bowmasters instead of my grief? With double Brainstorm in hand. That is pretty brutal. I think I am going to do that. I'll go ahead and ping you. Disgusting. I guess Cling to Dust is currently up, actually. Alright, my opponent's at 17. So this turn, I will just Baleful Strix instead of attempting Reanimate. I will just give my opponent the Pyroblast. Yeah, that's fine. And now I'm just kind of hoping that they use their Cling to Dust to draw a card or something. So that I actually get to reanimate something. Or otherwise use their mana. Negative. This is all going to be very awkward if they just naturally draw another Bowmasters without casting any cantrips. Or I guess Teferi is also very awkward. I guess that's another way to do it. Just power through. Opponent's at 12. I think I reanimate target Strix as the bait spell. Okay. Then fetch. And I will reanimate target Grief so I can take something like a Supreme Verdict. Yeah, we'll take a Wandering Emperor here. And we've just kind of fully left them at the mercy of this Orcish Bowmaster. Are you going to Desperation Brainstorm? Yes. All 3 points of damage at your face there. We've gotten a fetch. I lose the Grief. Sure. Another Bowmasters is very good. I do attack with both. If they play a Bowmasters of their own, I will Bowmasters their Bowmasters. Okay, it's going to be Snapcaster target Swords. So I will go ahead and kill their Snapcaster before they get a chance to block my Bowmasters. And now they can choose whether or not they want to get my 5/5 or one of the Orcish Bowmasters while they have a Brainstorm in hand. Alright, they are going to take a hit for 5 and go to 5. Prismatic Ending on the token. Into Staff of the Storyteller. That's maybe not ideal for me, but hopefully things are fine. Sure. I will not play that this turn. Not willing to attack into that. Opponent's Brainstorm is currently dead. That's a nuisance. Okay, they're just going to plus. That's fine. Cool. That charges both of those. Opponent is not bouncing my Orcish Bowmasters out of play. I have to sorcery speed do this if I want to do this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Opponent is Hellbent. I probably double fetch right now. Get Island and an Underground Sea. Play this. Then I'll probably end up activating that on my opponent's turn. So yeah, I will respond by activating this. I'll ping down a Spirit. Oh, Plague Engineer is really good. I believe this is my Bowmasters, not my opponent's. And now I'm just kind of hoping that between Plague Engineers and Bowmasters, I can just put together something that beats my opponent here. Drawing a blue card so I have Force of Will protection would be cool. Thoughtseize is interesting. Opponent has 2 kind of must-take cards right now. I have lost Bowmasters. And my opponent concedes. That was a slog. I don't feel good about the side of the matchup that I was on, but Bowmasters is changing legacy. Very clear, 1 match into this. Today's video is sponsored by moxfield.com, which is just the best place to keep your online deck lists. And one of the things that I love about them is that you can use it to keep track of what cards you do and don't have for a deck. So for example, in this deck list, I have all of the cards, so there are nice blue bubbles filled in here, and that's automatically ported over to your collection tab, where you can see exactly what cards you do and don't have. I have an opening hand that is very awkward. If my opponent is playing non-black creatures, this hand is totally fine. I am a little mana heavy, and I'm a little removal heavy, and I can only fix one of those two problems with this brainstorm. I think I'll still keep it, but it's a little awkward. I'm starting to see a plan come together. I think for in case if my opponent is on a Delver deck, I am just going to lead on Prismatic Vista. This is slightly awkward in some cases. Yes, guy control. Ledger Shredder's fine. Might snuff that out and then reanimate that. Oh man. Whoa. This is going to be, I think, worth some life to just answer now, and I think I'm going to do it before my opponent untaps. And I think I'm just going to hold up Bowmasters. I'm not sure. Oh, yeah, okay, well. If I must. Bowman. Damn. You gotta try, right? I can just reanimate it if I want. And I probably want. Ledger Shredder is fine. Am I ever brainstorming this turn? I don't think so. Yeah, I don't think so. So let's snuff that out. 11 already. Let's make it 9. Go ahead and ping you, get the orcs going. I've got Force of Will, and I will aggressively use it against the Swords of Plowshares or Lightning Bolt or whatever. Would like to draw a card, would you? We force that. Crack your bobble. I will brainstorm now. I already know what sorts of things I'm looking for. Faerie Mastermind will do nicely. Let's go land, do this. Crash in with the orcs. One's at 15. They're going fine. Go ahead and flash this in now. It's daze proof. Bowmasters happens. I ping my opponent. Their draw step happens. I draw a card. And we've got sort of good insurance here. I'm not expecting something like Supreme Verdict out of my opponent's deck right now, because like they're playing Ledger Shredders. So this happens. I get to ping my opponent again. We are amassing. Channeler's fine. Did I know this from Brainstorm? Was I supposed to fetch? I think I was supposed to fetch. Yeah, I was supposed to fetch. That's an error on my end. Would I be happy with this trade? I think so. I am at 8. I think I would be happy with that trade. Ooh, my opponent does not make the trade there. Scary. Alright, I will take some damage. That's fine. I believe the next card is also something that I don't want. I think I'm okay activating this right now. That's a Swords on the Faerie, rather than on the Bowmasters. Found another land anyway. Opponent goes to 8. We get a Ledger Shredder. Let's ship on in there. Opponent goes to 3. So what's awkward here? Brazen Borrower already beats me, right? Because my opponent just casts that end of turn, attacks me for 6 in the air. So turning on Petty Theft doesn't matter. Lightning Bolt already beats me. So I think this is probably fine to do. Alright, it is in play. So I am fine blocking here so that a Lightning Bolt does not beat me. This is fine. 1 damage on that. Okay, my opponent concedes. I don't know if my opponent played that game optimally. I feel like the Orcish Bowmasters or the Orc army was maybe more threatening than the Faerie. Like, I feel like if my opponent trades for this Orc token, swords this, they have a pretty decent chance of getting back into the game. Not totally sure, though. My opponent's got Ledger Shredders. My opponent might have enough graveyard stuff with both Ledger Shredder. No, Ledger Shredder cares about the cast, not the graveyard. I kind of want to reanimate their shit sometimes. Did a lot of damage to myself. I'm interested in Hydroblast as a removal spell. Plague Engineer is probably reasonable. These are playable. It's just that, like, Force of Will is really awkward when my opponent is probably about to bring in a pile of Hydroblasts, or not Hydroblasts, Red Elemental Blasts. I could go these out, like play some Flusters just as generic counterspells for my opponent's stuff. I don't hate that. I'm bringing in 2 bodies. I can probably drop an opposition agent. My opponent probably operates pretty well on a low-ish mana count. I think I can be happy with this. Yes, this hand is perfectly reasonable. I wish I had the ability to lead on basics in this matchup. I didn't see a Wasteland yet, but, feels like the sort of thing that will be on my opponent's side of the battlefield at some point. Okay, now I have the ability to lead on 2 basics. I am going to go ahead and take that. That was a great draw. I don't want grief of this. I am fine taking 2 of the remaining 3 cards. And we'll kind of see what my opponent has. It's just Ledger Shredder. I can just Fatal Push that while playing around Daze. And then try to just play around Daze for the remainder of the game. Do I want the grief that's below? Not really. Not without Reanimate. So let's fetch the other basic swamp and give it a push. Fantastic. Are we playing Land Go? Because I like that game for me. Dragon Rage Channeler is fine. There's 3 card types in graveyard. One of them is not instant, though. Which is awkward for trying to kill this with Bowmasters. I still probably try to kill it with Bowmasters, but it happens during their upkeep or if they cast something end of turn. I think I'll attempt it here before they get another draw. That is a Daze. This means an instant will go to the bin. I will pay for this. And now this card just operates normally. Okay, a second Daze. Sure. This is fine. Like, I have Sheoldred, which is now primed to resolve. I have Faerie Mastermind, Baleful Strix, Brazen Bar. Like, I have fantastic tools here. And I didn't obliterate my own life total by casting a bunch of snuff outs or anything at the beginning of the game. Ooh. My opponent is going to become the Monarch here with 4th Aorlingas, which is strong. What is my plan? Probably cast 2 different spells is my plan. Which 2 in what order? Question mark, question mark, question mark. I think it's Baleful Strix at sorcery speed, so that is done around Pyroblast. Ooh, that's good. I think I snuff this out now. And then I think I pass with the intention of casting Orcish Bowmasters in their end step. That's fine. Do I petty theft that out of play instead? No, I can petty theft it on my turn. I just want to make extra bodies. Actually, Faerie Mastermind is probably better. I can cast this right now around a Pyroblast. Now I'm hoping to get a draw trigger here. Denied. Oh, not denied. Okay, cool. The regular old land drop is fine here. We'll petty theft that out of play around Pyroblast. Attack my opponent for 1 to become the Monarch. I think just draw a card. Trix is great. And I will have this and this available to me. I'm going to play Brazen Borrower unless I have a strong reason not to do that. Okay, sure. The Red Elemental Blast is currently available. So let's go ahead and do this. There's a Force of Will. So they can cycle that. I'm still the Monarch. And I would very much like to defend that title. Honestly, fair. Like, I'm the Monarch, I have a Strix, I have a backup flyer, I have very strong things here. Legacy has changed, folks. Alright, I've kept my opening hand for round 3 here. We're 2-0 as of right now. I have a great mix of lands and spells that will probably be pretty flexible. Scrubland. Potentially playing against some, like, Grief Scam pile. Scrubland's not a super common land. Could be playing against, like, an Esper pile as well. Probably Esper if I lost the Faerie Mastermind. I think I am fine with a Sorcery Speed Ponder. Reanimate is great. I'm going to hide that on top of my deck and just draw a Ponder right now. My plan is to reanimate Faerie Mastermind unless I see something that changes my mind about what exactly I want to be doing here. Okay, Esper confirmed. Another Thoughtseize. This is why I hid the reanimate on top. So I think I'm going to start with a fetch. Pick up a swamp. Going to reanimate the Faerie Mastermind that my opponent did not want me to have. And I will leave Brainstorm available. It's possible I'm supposed to cast it now in case my opponent is like an Orcish Bowmaster pile. If at first you don't succeed, Thoughtseize again. I will go ahead and Brainstorm here. I'll hide my best cards on top. Maybe I won't. Like, I'll bury this island that I don't want to draw. I'll keep a Grief just so I can see what's going on and legit just have a Menace card. Put a Ponder on top and redraw it. Do I want to give my opponent the opportunity to take Grief? Maybe I don't. Let's not let them know about that. That can just be our little secret YouTube. Alright, lost Brainstorm. Draw Grief. I can Ponder now. I think I'm fine with that. Reanimate, huh? I still don't want that island. I am down with Reanimate and Snuff Out. No shuffle. I am going to go to combat first, though, and just poke my opponent for 2, just making sure there's not a Snuff Out coming from the other side of the table. All right. My opponent's at 11. Reanimate. Target Baleful Strix. Go ahead and fetch here. This will become an Underground Sea. Draw a random card. There's a Brainstorm. I think I'm going to Ponder, looking for like a Force of Will, maybe. Oh, these cards are great. Yeah. The next turn, I will play Strix into Bowmasters, meaning that I should put Polluted Delta on top. No shuffle, and this is turn 3, so I've made that land drop already. Very low life totals, despite the fact that not that much actual combat damage has been dealt. Excuse me? That is not very cash money of you. Luckily, I have a very legit plan for that. I think I'm going to make sure my plan works first, though, before I make my attacks. Let's grab another Underground Sea. Cast the Bowman. Ooh, that is Force of Will. I don't like how this looks. I always attack with this. I think I leave both of these back so I can always kill Snapcaster Mage. But this is an exceptional amount of damage being done to my board. Jitte is not a card that I was super prepared for. Sort of like Bowmasters. It puts a lot of pressure. I guess I'm super punished for not keeping a Snuff Out. Or was it Snuff Out didn't resolve? I forget exactly how that went. Alright, so I will trade here, but my opponent gets to now kill both of these bodies and unlock their cantrips from under Faerie Mastermind. Yeah. Yeah, okay. I guess first things first, let's see if they want to kill this. They do. That occurs. I want Bowman. I think I want Bowman. I Brainstorm first. I can Brainstorm first. Opposition Agent. I can Reanimate and Faerie Mastermind in this turn cycle. Cast Grief next turn. I think I do make this land drop. Alright, Reanimate Bowmasters. Ping you. And I think I just pass the turn and surprise them with Faerie Mastermind if it becomes relevant. Ooh. Annoying. We have Bowmasters and Jitte. All these X1 bodies look so bad. So I think at this point I shuffle and try to find an answer to their creatures rather than draw Grief or Opposition Agent. Oh, Fatal Push is very good here. Do I have to wait? Probably have to wait. They're both black for snuff out purposes, which is rough. I guess I can attack with my army. This is rough. I really want to draw cards. I guess it's attack with Faerie Mastermind, intend on trading Orc with this, Fatal Push with that. I probably just push now. I attack for the 2. It's rough. God, I don't want to play X1 creatures anymore in Legacy. So I'm hoping no removal spell over there. Alright, we dodged the removal spell. So I will go ahead and block so I can trade these. I think I need to do this so that I can draw another card. Okay. That's not bad, but I'm about to lose this Fairy. My opponent also just like has a bunch of gas that aren't lands based on what I've been expecting from other turns. I think I cast nothing and Force of Will my opponent's next play. It's really awkward if they time walk me and I don't do anything here, but I think I just need to have this Force of Will available for something like a Stoneforge Mystic or whatever. Okay, that's all fine. This is going to be a Snapcaster Mage into something like a Thoughtseize. I am just going to Force of Will this. This represents a 2-for-1, but more importantly, it represents a creature that can wield a Jitte, and that's something that I'm not great at beating right now. X1, X1, Ping me harder, Bow Daddy. No Bow Daddy. I don't think I can take 2 of these 3 cards reasonably. The Snuff Out misses Orcish Bowmasters, which is kind of a huge deal. I want to sculpt a plan that beats that if possible. Okay, this helps, but, you know, Jitte. I think I'm going to put back Force and click. Fetch. Gotta leave the UC in there. Play the Strix, hoping that it eats the last Jitte counter. Okay, and I have Bowmasters up for if my opponent plays a Bowmasters. But it seems like they didn't. I think I hold my Bowmasters, like I think I try to force the counter onto the Strix. I think that's very important here. Like my opponent's at 4, so like taking out this Strix is kind of a huge deal. Yeah. Just did a major punt by not playing that land. I just clicked too quickly. Like that is a game-losing mistake, I think. Okay, but my opponent's not playing anything in this turn cycle. This is fine. I'm not going to play the Bowmasters until I can do it with Force of Will protection, but that should have been this turn. All right, so there's a Bowmasters. My opponent will ping me. I will play a Bowmasters. I will ping your Bowmasters. Fuck. Needed them not to have another one. All right. I will counter this. I'm not happy about this, though, because, like, my opponent... I was planning on using the Sheoldred's Edict to clear out the Orc token so my opponent can't get fucking active Jitte. Now that doesn't work. Ugh. So we do a Tradesies. My opponent's... This is the first time in 10 years that Jitte has done anything. Oh my god. So good here. Okay. I've got removal, so I'm kind of safe. But only kind of. Yeah, I knew this was a concern. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Hard cast Caldra is not that far away. Yep. I am fine snuffing this out. I can get rid of the Caldra Germ token with Sheoldred's Edict. You're a turn late. But maybe I can snipe a fetch land. That is going to enable a Caldra. Oh my god, this is so clutch. God damn it. God damn it. Oh. That is a fucking beating. Just fetch. Just fucking fetch into my opposition agent. I really need it right now. So, if I fetch here, Sorry, if I play Opposition Agent here, my opponent fetches and can 100% play Cauldron next turn. Is that fine? Not really fine. This puts them to 3, which is a scary number. A little less scary because of this. All right, they are going to fetch. Not sure if I'm supposed to actually do that. Also a fucking X1, though. I think that's fine. Each opponent sacrifices a creature token. Do this on this Batter Skull. That is not the ability you wanted to activate. Oh, no. Oh, no. We'll take that. Wow. Okay, so note to self in deck building. If you're going to be a Bowmasters deck, be the Bowmaster deck that wins the mirror. Because in both the last 2 rounds that I've played, I have not been the Bowmaster deck that wins the mirror. Like, I know scoreboard is looking good right now, but holy shit. Doesn't feel good. All right. Plague Engineer for Orc, Opposition Agent to help with Stoneforge, and to be an X2 body. Then I have a pile of things that are potentially playable. The really awkward thing here is that, like, when Bowmasters or Jitte isn't involved, my X1s are very fucking good. I feel like this game is going to fall apart to those cards. I also just kind of need the value that a lot of those cards represent. Click can go by the fact that it's good against Stoneforge. Brazen Borrower is one of my few ways to get a piece of equipment out of play once it is in play. I probably have to keep it. I don't really want to cut Faerie Masterminds and Baleful Strix because of what they're theoretically going to do. I don't have more discards that I can bring in. I'm going to cut this. Got one of these. The thing about Null Rod is if I play Null Rod out preemptively before Jitte, my opponent just gets Cauldra or Batter Skull, and then Null Rod does nothing. Not a fan. Not a fan of the side of the matchup that I'm on. I am perfectly happy with this hand. I would call it unexciting, but fine. Like, this Baleful Strix needs to be the thing that I hold to Force of Will in a lot of cases here. And my best plays start coming around on turn 3. I think the hand's too good to mulligan, and it's improved by too many draws to throw back. Snuff Out is fine. Based on what I saw, I think I can just get a dual land with the first one here. And now I don't need this stop. There's the Stoneforge Mystic. So the question is, do I counter it? Because if I don't counter it, my opponent gets a piece of equipment to hand. So I think I do just say no to that, and hopefully by the time another one rolls around, Opposition Agent can be live. But again, this means that I took away my 2-drop play, and my good stuff starts being online next turn. So it goes, you know? All right. Fuck. That's just there. That exists. Is absolutely just brutal. Land pass. I don't know that I want to expose this to Swords to Plowshares immediately. I think I'd rather expose Opposition Agent to Swords to Plowshares. Like, I think this going on Orc is just too important. I, again, get bit in the butt for not just playing a Sorcery Speed Opposition Agent, but I think it's wrong against a Prismatic Ending deck to do so. It also just, like, telegraphs that my opponent needs to sculpt their hand in a certain way. Grief is interesting. If I play Grief, I can still snuff out things that aren't Orcish Bowmasters. If my opponent has Orcish Bowmasters, I'm supposed to play a Plague Engineer preemptively. I get absolutely just wrecked by a Snapcaster Mage for taking this line, though. This is the line that lets me safely attack, I think. And I just need to hold the snuff out in case my opponent does have Snapcaster Mage. Alright, they're at 15. Got 5 damage a turn ready. Fucking called it. I fucking called it. I think I let them equip. It gives them one more draw for a counter spell, but it's a massive tempo blowout for me to let them try to equip it. Stuff out. I get my grief here. Okay, sure. Have I pondered or anything? No, I have not. That's no shuffle there. Oh, I have opposition agent. You do not get to do that. I also got a snip of your deck. I'll take your swamp. Yeah, that was a pretty brutal misplay. Pick this up. I know my opponent has Plague Engineer, and I can't snuff that out. But they probably don't get to play Plague Engineer and also equip. Ooh, Prismatic Ending is a great draw. That means they're taking 2 more from Plague Engineer here. Ugh. I'm going to hold those in hopes of shuffling them away with a Brainstorm. My opponent's at 5. They are, despite the fact that I am up on cards, they are highly ahead despite the life totals being like this. So they get to do this. And they can shrink my Plague Engineer if they would like, or they can just put it on like Orc or something. Sure. And they get to play their cantrip in a way that plays around Orcish Bowmaster now. They chose to shuffle. I basically just need a non-land card here. That one doesn't count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I can hardcast this. Yeah, Snuff Out not hitting everything in this matchup is brutal, but I like absolutely need to be playing it. Yep. Nope. I will absolutely Force of Will to protect my creature here. I just need to trade body for body here so that my opponent does not have a persistent creature with Jitte. That is just something that I cannot let happen because my threats are so small on average. Fucking A, deck. I just need a little something to get over the corner here before my opponent just like draws one of their 2 true names or something. That's very good. Okay, there's no shuffle there, so they are Brainstorm locked. That's the good news for me. I have a little bit of time to get out of this. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. So I can play Faerie Mastermind, take a counter off of that. That doesn't seem particularly good. Like, I can just draw another card. I think I wait that out. Okay, so my opponent's Force of Wills are now live as a hard cast card. Don't Bowmaster me, please. Cool. I think I will take Strix and fetch, with the plan being force through the pain. Grab an island. I can grab a swamp. Leave diversity of fetch lands in the deck. But yeah, this, damn it. I think I'm soft to that. That pings Strix, they're going to carry the game away with Jitte. I draw a card. This doesn't feel good. The amass stuff starts to happen. I'm going to try to look for an answer to what's going on over there. Fatal Push. Fatal Push answers this. I die to this plus this. I think I am comfortable conceding this game to leave more time for a drawn-out game 3. But my opponent, I stopped the Stoneforge. My opponent just naturally drew the Jitte. X1s are so bad. It's technically only 4 cards in the deck that they're bad against, but holy shit, are they bad when that happens. Like, I can board in more X1s to deal with my X1 problem. And, like, Snuff Out not hitting Orcish Bowmasters is a huge deal. My Faerie Masterminds might not be as good as I think they are. My opponent... No, my opponent is playing all 4 Ponders. They just used 2 before I looked at their deck list. I'm going to board down 2 Masterminds, I think. Play a Brazen Borrower and a Null Rod. Just be slightly better at getting out of the Jitte hole. This is not a great hand, but I don't think I mulligan it. Like, I have a cantrip, I have a reasonable removal spell, an endgame threat that lives through Jitte, a Force of Will to get me to that point. I'm not sure if I'm supposed to main phase Brainstorm or not. I think I will, because Bowmasters is a card. Ooh. I have a lot of gas. I don't have a lot of mana, which means I probably throw back the Sheoldred. Snuff Out and Fatal Push will cover everything except for True Name, which Sheoldred's Edict would cover, but I have to make some choices here. I think I'm going to put an Edict on top and just not immediately shuffle in case I end up wanting to draw that Edict. I am intending on shuffling, but things can happen. I'm going to Fetch in my upkeep. This is just going to be another Underground Sea based on how things are playing out here. I want to Baleful Strix and make a land drop. Like, my opponent's Orcish Bowmasters are so good if I do that. Would I Force of Will Orcish Bowmasters right now to fight over Baleful Strix? No. I think I'd rather just cast an Orcish Bowmasters at my opponent's end of turn with Force of Will backup if need be. If I was making land drops, I wouldn't make this play, but I'm not making land drops, and I am close to an area where I might have to just discard. Sure. So I can let that live, and then Fatal Push their Bowmasters and reanimate a Bowmasters to end up in a really good spot. I think I'm fine with this, despite the fact that it is awkward. And then this leaves Force of Will for something slightly scarier. All right. Fatal Push Bowmasters. Ooh. It's probably going to be Mystical Dispute. Or no, it can't be Mystical Dispute. Luster Storm. Annoying, but resolves. Reanimate my Bowmasters. My Bowmasters kills your Bowmasters, making my Big Booty Orc token ready to go. And I'll go ahead and crash on in. I have 2 Force of Wills and a Snuff Out to protect this Orcish Bowmasters. That needs to be Force of Willed. Probably pitching Ponder. Do I stop that? I don't think so. I'm just so scared of a Stoneforge Mystic if I use my Force of Will on anything else here. Yeah, this is worth... I hate this. Double pitch card here is a pretty rough situation. I hate everything about this current situation. Oh, those cards aren't great. That's a mana leak. I think I take the... Do I take the swords and try to aggro this game? Or do I just let them, like, remove one of my creatures? I think I let them remove one of my creatures and just be able to top deck well. I don't care if they kill my stuff. I think their deck top deck's better than mine right now. I don't want to trade bodies here. I'm winning the race on raw damage, in theory. I'll remove this stop on my own upkeep. I'm way behind on time. Let's go ahead and crash on in there. I got some damage in. I think I have to ponder. Like, I don't love pondering into... Oh, this is great. Bam. Wait, no. Oh, I can't undo that. God damn it. I wanted to reanimate. The reanimate was very good. Oh, that's frustrating. Okay. No shuffle. I'll draw that reanimate next turn, but I'm supposed to do that on Orcish Bowmasters this turn to kill this token. So that a top deck Jitte doesn't blow me out. Alright, I take a little damage. My opponent got an extra draw for a counterspell or whatever. And I think it's Bowmaster over true name. Is that true? I guess let's attack. It might just be true name Nemesis. Okay. Swords is gone. I know my opponent's last card is Caldra. They're at 9. I am at 16. I also can just reanimate Grief and take their Caldra so that a top deck land doesn't get me. I should probably do that, much as I don't want to. Alright, goodbye, get out. I'm going to F6 my opponent's turn. I'm way behind on time. Boo! Yeah. That mistake with that reanimate may cost me this game. Losing my whole board if I block. I still think I have to block. Yeah, I think I punted this one. Just a physical misclick. So I think I don't attack. I grab UC and play the world's worst Grief. Hold back both bodies so that better. I guess if my opponent has a removal spell, they remove Grief. Strix minus here. I guess I should have attacked. Oh my god. Yeah, so that Batterskull just gets to come in this turn if they want it. Yeah. I don't know that I would have beaten the follow-up Stoneforge, but I had a very real chance. The Sheoldred helps a bit in like having something that can live through some Jitte counters. Menace attack is not good here. Flying attack good. I'm just gonna hold everything back. This is not a race my opponent situation when they have Batterskull and Jitte. This is a can I find an out to this card. All right. They're going for the 4/4 route. They can turn it into a 6/6. Seems like block with Strix, take out the Germ with Death Touch, or they can minus this and save their Germ, but then they don't get new Jitte counters, and that's okay with me. Now they can just, with that extra land drop, they can bounce and redeploy. Batterskull, another Sheoldred's a bad draw. I don't have an extra mana for this. Guess the Grief attack is fine. No, it's not fine. Bounce. Okay, yeah. That works too. Yeah, I think I'm dead here. The Null Rod, I can maybe get myself back into this. But that's still just like the Batterskull on board being problematic. Yep. I think I'm eating this damage. Sheoldred has a lot of toughness. My situation is just not great. Like, I can die to the Germ just crashing in for 10 next turn. Okay, sure. Bird for Baleful Strix. That's not gonna do it. I think if my opponent moves equipment around, they've got this one. I'm gonna go ahead and concede here. I think my misclick with that ordering of the Ponder lost me the match, but they punted a game in game 1 anyway. Yeah, I have been absolutely on the wrong side of these Orcish Bowmaster mirrors just in terms of deck construction. All right, we are playing against a Yorion deck here. I don't have 2 mana and I don't have blue mana, so this one's an auto mulligan. This is a keep. I don't know whether we're playing against something like Death and Taxes or whether it's a control pile, and that vastly changes the power of Fatal Push here. I'm going to throw Fatal Push back in a background in a vacuum here, and it's punishing if my opponent is on Death and Taxes, but I would not be sleeving up Death and Taxes in the Orcish Bowmaster world, so I'm going to bet against that. And I was rewarded with my bet. I am fine pondering here. Yeah, that. I mean, I guess we can keep this ponder. No shuffle. So my opponent probably is currently going to be in that situation of like, are they a combo deck like Doomsday, or are they a fair Orcish Bowmasters deck? And man, that is not going to be a fun game to play in the following months. I'm going to show them another Underground Sea, and then pass the turn. Sure. Cast a cantrip. Little old cantrip. Life from the Loam. Yep. I am going to cast an Orcish Bowmasters into Swords to Plowshares, because I just need to use my mana here, just kind of based on how the remainder of this game is going to go. Like, I have high mana intensity cards that I need to be playing. Yep, that's a good time to fire that off. All right, we're in play. We get 2 bodies for this. We've got another one that I can cast as well. I'm kind of just into a sorcery speed opposition agent, though, honestly. Maybe I won't do that. Like, it's very good against my opponent's Life from the Loam Windswept Heath situation. I don't know that I just want to clearly telegraph that I have that. Pretty bad against Supreme Verdict. Yep, that's fine. Response. I think I do this one. It's possible I'm supposed to brainstorm first. Do I brainstorm to look for Force of Will? I think I do. Hope my opponent isn't also playing Bowmasters. That would be bad. Okay, did not find it. Not super interested in Brazen Borrower right now. Probably redraw Opposition Agent. I'm hoping that I get to snipe that Windswept Heath with Opposition Agent. Nice, I do. Or at least I get to attempt to. Ponder probably doesn't make my opponent flinch, and I'm going to try to give myself the ability to use a fetch land to just, like, take the best of the cards here, continue to make my land drops, swamp for variety, crash in for 1. Death by 1,000 cuts occurs. All right. Let's try to get that. Nice. We get a lot of information here. Oh, my opponent has a natural order package. And Omnoth, Primeval Titan. Okay. I believe I kind of want to tactically take Dryad Arbor so my opponent has fewer green creatures they can sacrifice for just a natural order kill out of nowhere. Yeah. I'm going to go ahead and do that. All right, good stuff. There's my opponent's Prismatic Vista. Uro is fine. I'm hoping I just bottleneck my opponent on mana here so that they can't actually play that. And the backside of the Uro doesn't actually matter. I think I'm going to start by going a card deeper into my deck. I don't have to worry about Supreme Verdict. I know that now. Faerie Mastermind's not bad. Go ahead and Ponder rather than Brainstorm, I think. I'm fine drawing these cards. Yeah. I think I want to have the Force in hand while still having the ability to cast Faerie Mastermind. Hit my opponent for 4. They're down to 12. Is that a Green Sun with my opposition agent out? It's a prismatic ending, which I believe I will just go ahead and Force of Will. Pitching the Brainstorm here. And that's good enough to get the game. So I definitely want this other copy of Opposition Agent. That's going to be quite strong. Bowmasters are going to be good against my opponent's cantrips and their Icefang Coatls and their Dryad Arbors. Well, my opponent's got a scary endgame with a bunch of ways to find an Uro and a Primeval Titan. They've won Wasteland. So that's going to be one of those things to keep in mind. I think these cards fall into the realm of playable. My opponent has 1 Omnoth, so I'm probably not going to be thinking about Hydroblast, and I think Leyline is too narrow versus a Yorion build for me to want to do that. Fatal Push has some targets, but it's going to miss some important stuff, like Snuff Out. Doesn't kill Atraxa either. Okay. I think I'm going to go Fatal Pushes out. That'll get me an Opposition Agent. And it's a little harder from here, because like my opponent has a decent number of creatures, but I also just have to respect endgame Green Sun for X is 6 or more. Like, Force of Negation becomes reasonable. Plague Engineer does some stuff, and it's just another body that I can turn sideways and attack my opponent with. I have to like reluctantly keep the Fatal Pushes because like things like Endurance exist that my Bowmasters aren't good against. I hope not. I kind of want Flusterstorm and Force of Negation to protect Opposition Agent, but there's only 2 of those in my deck, so I can't super rely on that all the time. Oh, it's Opposition Agent. My hand is incredibly slow. I'm going to keep it in the hopes that it improves. I did not see any sort of... Sorry, I lost my train of thought there. I'm going to lead this game on basics, I think, despite the fact that, like, my opponent only has 1 Wasteland. Them finding Wasteland plus Life from the Loam would be absolutely devastating for me, were it to occur. I'm just going to make a second land drop and pass with the intention of casting an end-of-turn Brainstorm on their turn. They get to, unfortunately, do some cool plays around Opposition Agent here. I don't have an Orcish Bowmaster to punish that, but hopefully I'll find one off my Brainstorm. Grist is very good. I would Force of Will that if I drew one. But let's try to draw one. I did not, but maybe I can power through with an Orcish Bowmasters somehow. Without thinking about this too hard, I'm probably throwing back land to land into the deck. Throw back Underground Sea and an island. My opponent is ahead on board in a way that I don't like. In a way that's uncommon. That is a 1 of. I don't think I pull the trigger on Snuff Out yet. Let's go ahead and fetch the second swamp here. Unless I want to operate on 4 basics. Yeah, maybe I want to operate on 4 basics. Oh, that's insane. That's very, very, very good. We have 4 Force of Wills, 2 Force of Negations in the main deck. If I let them untap, they have instant speed draw cards like Brainstorm that they can cast, like Ice Fang Coatl to dig deeper. I think I am willing to give them an extra pest so that I can end of turn Vendilion click them to just make sure that my Sheoldred's Edict will resolve. Yep. That was no shuffle there. I'm just going to take the damage again. I'm at 15. Yes, that's fine. End of turn, attempt click. Ooh, it seems I have chosen wisely. Now, if they have a third counterspell in hand and can still counter this, rough. So let's hope they don't have that. All right. Both the things that I would like to do right now are instants. I'm willing to go to my opponent's turn to do them. They can still, like, cast a Force of Negation. So, sacrifice a Planeswalker. Alright, cool. This is the point where I think I go ahead and Orcish Bowmasters. I'll ping the Ice Fang Coatl here. Swords is fine. Like, I'm getting Swords and Ice Fang and a Pest token out of this Orcish Bowmasters, which is just absolutely insane in terms of just raw value count. Field of the Dead. Okay. There is a clock to the end of this game now. This is something that will beat me as this game goes very, very, very long. I have great tools. Just how do I use them? I think I would like to ponder. Kind of like to find Force of Will. Another Bowmasters. Okay, sure. I'm going to play Strix and Bowmasters this turn. As long as I draw Delta. Play Delta. Cast a Strix. Every time my opponent pauses on a draw card trigger now, I'm just terrified. I'm going to pass the turn. I'm going to play Orcish Bowmasters on their turn. Probably end step. I think I'm willing to take one from an insect token. Maximum Punished. I forgot about Natural Order. 1 mana short of that. Okay. That doesn't eat it to a snuff out. Oh, this is embarrassing. I think I am supposed to put this in play now so that my opponent is less equipped to just answer it immediately. How bad are these 10 cards? Pretty bad. Pretty bad. Alright, Windswept, Prismatic Ending. That means that's not there, that's not there, that's not there. Alright, and they're fetching now, which is around my opposition agent, which is unfortunate for me. They carpet, they get to go to main phase 2. And then they can Prismatic Ending away Bowmasters. Yeah, I punted this one so hard by not getting rid of the pest token. Like, the Atraxa doesn't win them the game, but you're a card late. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. They have a 7th land. Field of the Dead will be active. Omnoth is a thing as well. I haven't dealt with my opponent's Yorion yet either. I have to pass the turn with Force of Will available. I don't think I did fish myself out of that mistake. I think Omnoth occurs and I just snuff it out. I believe by paying life, since I need to hold up like Force of Will and Opposition Agent. My opponent still gets good value off of this. Like, all of this is just coming off of an Atraxa. Yeah. Yep. Prismatic Ending on Baleful Strix. This is my way to answer Atraxa as of right now. Super reluctant Force of Will, because this is still just a thing that's coming. But I want my opponent to mess up an attack with his Atraxa rather than playing towards blinking it. Then I can reanimate that. Yikes. So I need to hold up Opposition Agent here. I am going to make a land drop so that I have the possibility of Sheoldred plus another spell next turn. That spell is like a cantrip or something. Flash this on in there. His 3 lands in hand. Rough. More Force of Negations in there before. Exactly 2 natural orders still. Most of this looks about the same. They have how many snow lands? They have 2 snow lands out right now. I guess I will take a snow land from them then. Rakas means that my Sheoldred's bad. At this point, I might be playing to run down my opponent's clock. Don't love that. Match 4. I've still got another one to record. I should maybe just concede this game. I'm gonna concede this game. Like, I don't think I am beating Caracas Atraxa, Caracas Yori, and Caracas Bounce Sheoldred. My deck was good. I just was not there. My opponent's deck is largely the same deck as in game 1. Clusters are sometimes fine. Negation is sometimes fine. Like, negation stopping natural order in particular is super important. Enough out not hitting everything I need it to is brutal. I think I'm going to resubmit my deck as is. I could maybe board out Click as it is a legendary creature. But again, my opponent is an 80 card singleton deck. This is an unexciting keep. This is just this go into Strix, and my initial stuff probably gets exiled. I guess for reanimate purposes, these should also be snow-covered islands and snow-covered swamps. In case I reanimate an opposing Ice Fang Coatl. My opponent has opened up on that 3 games. Oh no, it's a Dryad Arbor this time, sure. I'm going to continue to lead on basics here and play out a Strix. I do just have to worry to folding, wow, to a natural order, not this turn, but the following turn. I am completely soft to that as of right now. I just have no interaction. Yes. I have a Sheoldred to help out with this situation in the not too distant future. I have no outs to natural order as of right now. Not an out to natural order. I'm not proud of what I'm about to do. I am really, really not proud of what I am about to do. I'm going to cycle a reanimate. And I'm going to look for a blue card to pair with this Force of Will. I found it, which is great. The Vista into play. Sacrifice the Uro. I think make a regular old land drop here. And now I have Insurance versus Natural Order, which is just the easiest way for me to lose this game here. Alright, no Dryad Arbor attack. A Ponder. That's fine. I can cast one of those and then cast a Sheoldred with a Force of Will backup. Yes, that is fine. Gives me a nice Bowmasters target if I find one. Hey, a Bowmasters. I believe I will just draw immediately. Take the Faerie next turn. Drop Underground Sea. If I pass my opponent's turn, they could hardcast a Force of Will on my Bowmasters. I think I'm supposed to cast it now. Sure. Man, I wish I could have had Bowmasters and Woozy What's It in the same turn. I think I deny the mana first. And I'm going to hold back Baleful Strix in hopes of pinging these things down in the not too distant future. I will Force of Will to protect this. It leaves me worse off versus a natural order, but I'm about to drop Sheoldred and Faerie and be very good against everything that is not natural order. Oh, I'm not about to do both. I'm going to have to choose. I think it's Sheoldred first. I have much more flexibility if I play my expensive card now when I can only play one spell. I'm fine with this token attacking. I'm also probably fine trading body for body because I'm a little scared of natural order, honestly. Yeah, I think I'm okay with that. Yeah, this is fine. The Sheoldred play is awkward if my opponent naturally has or draws Caracas. Otherwise, it's pretty strong. It is just horrifying for my opponent to cast a cantrip at this point. And it's about to become worse. Every time. Every time. They've got 2 copies of Natural Order in their deck I'm trying to dodge. Yeah, that's actively good for me. My opponent draws a card. I ping that down. My attacks become safer. Not fully safe, but safer. Second Faerie Mastermind. There's 1 Endurance in their deck. I'm going to attack. Alright, did not hit the Endurance this time, though. They don't have a green creature right now. They don't have something like Supreme Verdict in their deck. It is an Uro. I will respond to that. They Faerie Mastermind. And a Faerie Mastermind. You're willing to get rid of the second one, not the first. My opponent gets a card. I get to ping them and draw a card. Tricks is fine. This Orc may end up outsizing Uro. We'll see. My opponent also is somewhat likely to just have a removal spell. Oh, yeah, that's fine. That's more Orcish Bowmaster fodder. That's interesting. I think I just play Strix and try to dig, though. This also just gives me a Death Toucher for that Uro if it ends up attacking. Oh, how do I feel about that? With as few cards in graveyard as there are, I think I'm okay with that. But my opponent should bounce their Uro here to fizzle that. They did not. So I will be able to cast the backside, which I very much appreciate. My opponent takes a bunch of damage. Recasting the Uro is not a great prospect for them. So they do their thing. I do my things. I will ping that Noble Hierarch. We're going to try to keep creatures out of play. I really wanted to draw a blue card so that Natural Order can't get me, as fetch Dryad Arbor plus Natural Order is still possible. Okay, not Dryad Arbor. Remunap Excavator is fine. Like, recurring land drops is okay. Grief versus Force of Will now. So I get to attack for 7, and then I get to attack for 7 the following turn. It seems to me like leaving up Force of Will and Brazen Borrower is probably just better. Bam. All right, my opponent eats all the damage, goes to 5. I can actually grief them as well. I don't need this. I don't need to hardcast this grief in just about any circumstance. Yeah, let's play as safe as possible. Double land. I mean, now I know, right? Now I know I just counter the thing that my opponent does with their turn, and they're dead. There's one of their lands. You don't have cards in graveyard for Uro Escape. Okay, sure. You now can't untap that mana anymore, so you're stuck with that mana configuration. Alright, and my opponent concedes the match here. GG's. Alright, I'm certainly keeping this hand. I have a turn 1 emergency brainstorm, otherwise I have 2 great turn 2 plays for different types of decks. Alright, so like, maybe I don't have a turn 1 brainstorm. Alright, just in case. Oh wow, this hand is going to be probably very good against what my opponent is doing. I believe I have to play Prismatic Vista here. If this is always Swamp, I want this to be Bloodstained Mire, actually. I might need blue-blue or black-black later through a Blood Moon. Yeah, so Bloodstained Mire is actually correct, because it's never... I never need to brainstorm right now, so I should play around Blood Moon. Don't need... Well, I mean, Magus the Moon could still be a thing. I could work towards blue-blue or black-black through Blood Moon. After seeing this, I'm less likely to need to do that. I think I'm just going to play a regular land and then save this for later if I need to fetch. Why the fuck did you keep your hand? Chalice of the Void does not make a hand keepable in Legacy anymore. It just straight up doesn't. Alright, you're at 17. I guess thing. I guess I'll do this. This is usually a fine attack. I am just going to let it hit now. I'm going to play Faerie Mastermind if my opponent doesn't do something that makes me Orcish Bowmasters. Yeah, what are you doing? Is this just physically attacks 4 more? This is 4 basic lands. I think I'm just going to play an Underground Sea, though. My opponent, like, legitimately has X1s in their deck in all likelihood. I'm not going to play the second Orcish Bowmasters pre-combat for that additional point of damage. Yes, my next turn is going to look fucking hot with 2 Orcish Bowmasters in play, I think. And do a Fable thing. I'm going to go ahead and just shoot them directly. Let's drop this. The attack in the air is fine. The trade with the token would be fine. Alright, my opponent will take it. They are at 8, facing down a whole lot of damage. They cannot do this. Oh no. Oh no. They did it. Yep. Let's just always yield to that. I'll take an extra card. Yeah. Okay. So I think I'm gonna have plenty of time to sideboard. So just quick thing. Chalice of the Void is not a good magic card. Chalice of the Void can protect you for a couple of turns while your big dumb things, like the initiative cards, take over the game. Ancient Tomb, Chalice of the Void is not a good keep. Ancient Tomb, Chalice of the Void into something else is. Like, the London Mulligan is broken. Please, I beg you, use it. So, Hydroblast probably comes in. I'll probably play Force of Negations. I didn't need Chalice this game. Or sorry, I didn't need my cantrips this game. I often will. I don't think I'm interested in something like Energy Flux. I've got 6 cards that I can consider. My cards are just super reasonable for this matchup. I'm probably not going to play Opposition Agent. It's a flash blocker, which is cool. Probably need all of these, so let's figure out how to get them in. Click is slow. Click can come out. Grief on the draw is not the best. I would consider it on the play if we were in a game 3 scenario. The issue is that if my opponent just turn 1 chalices me on the play and I don't answer that, then like Grief Reanimate is no longer a thing. I can go down some 1-drops if I want to be better against that, but I'm hoping that with 6 of these effects, I will have one a decent portion of the time. This is a fine hand. I will be keeping this. I'm not sure if I will counter a Chalice of the Void if my opponent costs 1. Right, Ancient Tomb, Fable. I probably just force that. It's a lot of value. It's also my opponent's potential source of white mana here. So this will allow me to fetch a swamp so that I can have colors if a blood moon happens. How do I feel about it the second time? I think the same as I did the first time. Another Bowmasters. I am going to just preemptively fetch a swamp so I never have to worry about timing problems. Oh, okay. So countering those was good. Oh man. Whoa. I think I just hold these up again rather than going for the immediate point of damage. Just be able to play Faerie Mastermind if my opponent doesn't play something that I have to answer. Okay. My opponent should point the extra damage at the orc, which they did. I can't save it. I will just play my Faerie Mastermind at end of turn. It attacks for more, or it attacks for 2, and then this leaves me with flexibility. So let's go ahead and ship on in there with this. I think I go ahead and preemptively put Orcish Bowmasters on Goblin. Or sorry, Plague Engineer on Goblin. I'm really glad I didn't click on my swamp there and accidentally cast that card. It's possible that Goblin is not the correct name. It was like my opponent just like rips a human or whatever, but this is good against 8 cards in their deck plus Fable tokens, which are Goblin Shamans. And that's the downside of doing a play like this one. But now my opponent has 2 for 1 themselves twice, and they're in the same position I am, but I have better mana and they have a much lower life total. Alright, so initiative stuff can start happening, which is scary. Any removal spell is just absolutely insane from my end. And my cantrips are still live. Let's do this. Ping you. You're at 8. Alright, yeah, let's find a removal spell and just instantly win this game. Fatal Push will work. No shuffle. Fetch. The second swamp. Fatal Push Seasoned Dungeoneer. Is worth 2 points of damage, and more importantly, the initiative. I get my last basic out of deck. Fine playing that, I guess. My opponent needs a creature. They are at 4. I have played around Magus of the Moon. We saw that one coming. I think I go to Forge. I think Forge up the Orc. Yeah, that's why I forged the Orc. That's an amazing draw. This allows me to hold the initiative very easily. I am going to hold that for brainstorm purposes, I think. A third Fury would be rough. I'm good against a lot of other things. And I have Trap that kills my opponent. I will block with Strix. That does give my opponent access to more mana, though. I wonder if I was supposed to just chump for this exact scenario. But my opponent had the 4th mana anyway. No, and I think I knew about that basic as well. My opponent topped both of their cards. I'll counter whatever they do next turn. I'm fine playing this. The stash is good for them. You can't attack here. I counter it. Yep, just gotta stop that. Reanimate, you say? Let's reanimate target a seasoned dungeoneer, shall we? I will take the initiative. And my opponent has conceded, meaning that we 4-1 this league. This was an awesome league. So if it wasn't obvious to you, Legacy has changed overnight. And I don't think that is hyperbole at all. Faerie Mastermind is a card that I thought was batshit insane yesterday. And now I'm like, I don't know if that's a playable Legacy card anymore. And all it took was one league for me playing with and against Orcish Bowmasters in Force to come to that conclusion. And similarly, like X1 flex slots are so much worse than they used to be. Orcish Bowmasters is incredibly powerful. You need to be respecting this card in Legacy. You need to be thinking about this in deck building. Like removal spells that don't hit it, for example, got a lot worse. There's a lot to think about and a lot of new play patterns to learn and experiment with. I'm very excited for Legacy right now, but I'm also like slightly having Run and 6 PTSD, where I remember how every X1 creature got pushed out of the format and it wasn't like super healthy. So we'll see how this bad boy ends up treating the format. Now, if you need to pick these up, Cool Stuff Inc. Promo code ThrabenU, great way to do it. Let me know in the comments what you're thinking of Legacy right now, what sort of Bowmaster things you're experimenting with. I'd say like let's battle again, but it's like midnight. I need to go to bed, but I want to play more Bowmasters. That's a sign of a good card.